Hi, it's Drew Tignanelli. This is our August 2026 update, Michael.
Time just keeps flying by.
Yeah, it does. Another Pulse video. And what do we got going on this month? We got any articles, videos, anything exciting?
We do. We've got Alec has written an article about federal retirement planning and case study. I think it's, some of the best ways to take advantage of federal retirement planning. So that'll be coming out with this newsletter. And then, you have been working on some things, right, with the financial physical book.
Yeah, we're going to, I update it every year with new information, the new laws so that the numbers are up to date, 401ks, the state exemption. But this time, 2027, when it's updated, it's going to add some new things. One of my big focuses is post-retirement planning. And I don't think the public truly understands why post-retirement planning is so critical. But think about it, it's pretty simple. It's the pinnacle of your financial success. Wherever you are financially, you're probably going to be reaching a pinnacle when you begin your retirement. And you make mistakes. You make tax mistakes, estate mistakes, and things of that sort. And it's going to cost you a
Yeah,
substantial amount of money. And
true.
so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to update it with things like family wealth efficiency, legacy planning, invisible losses. That's my favorite, invisible losses. An invisible loss is when you make a move and you didn't know you could have done something else, or somebody does your tax return and you assume it's right and you don't realize it's wrong. And all of a sudden, it's lost. It's invisible. You didn't even see it. And we've had clients, Mike, that $91,000 when we uncovered it in time to amend the
Right.
return. We have another one outstanding right now. It's like 50 some thousand dollars. And we're waiting to hear from the IRS where we're going to, I'm
So you'll
90.
be updating the book for some of these topics, and that's something that we can expect for 2027, right?
That is something we can expect for 27, but it's an incredibly important topic. That's what I'm trying to get
Absolutely.
to.
Well, on the markets, as of this year to date, markets are still up and strong. But recent month, it's been a bit in a holding pattern, positive for the year still, but staying strong even with the summer doldrums.
It happens. AI is for real. It's continuing big move in the market. It's to me, it's similar to what the telephone did to the world or what the internet did to the world. I think AI could even be significantly beyond any of those two. There's a lot of negative about it, Mike, but there's going to be a lot of positive to it also.
Absolutely. Bond markets have been moving around a bit. Rates have gone higher, which could, make certain bond valuations go lower, but that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Well, bonds, you got two risks, Mike. It's when interest rates go up and you're locked in at an interest rate and your rate's lower than what they've moved up to, that's a devastating. That's called maturity risk. And then you got credit default risk. That's if the company says, I can't make the payment. Credit default risk is easier to manage than maturity risk. And our opinion is that we're trying to stay on the lower end of maturity so that if rates do rise, we don't get the negative impact of that.
Yeah. And cycling through some good news, inflation has cooled down significantly to 3.5%. It reached kind of a higher number in May of about 4.2%.
But
Um,
I'm not sure that's going to last but a month right now because
well,
rates of oil and
that's what
gas
the
are
rates
going
are.
back up. Yeah, I mean, that's what the rate came down to, but they've come back up again, so we'll see.
Yeah. As you're pointing out, as commodities, oil and gas rising a little bit, but not skyrocketing.
Not with what everybody talks about the straighter moves and this and that, and yet the oil market seems to say, well, for some reason, there's plenty of oil seems to be slipping out here into the market, so we're not overly concerned. And if you clear that issue up, I think you could see the price of oil collapse.
Yeah, absolutely. So other commodities, silver and gold prices have started to come down, but as you always point out, they're still significantly above the cost of production.
Yeah, I mean, people get all excited about silver and gold, but it's a pretty simple equation. What's it cost to get it out of the ground and what's the market paying for it? And if they're paying way too much more, 50 to 100% of the cost out of the ground is about the most you should ever expect. And right now they're trading at about 150 to 200% out of the ground.
Yeah.
So it's not a market I'm participating in right now.
Well, in the final area of market news, I always like to bring up at the end of the section, as far as interest rate expectations, right now, it looks like interest rates are going to be holding firm. Depending on where you look, there's the potential maybe for one increase before the end of the year, but overall, it looks like interest rates from the Federal Reserve just staying the same for now.
That's very likely. I know that Trump will be beating up on Warsh to try to get him lower, but he's only one guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we're talking about, and we talked about AI in the market section of this Financial Pulse update, is for the planning section, one to talk about preventing fraud. And we've talked about this in the past, but it's always good to bring it back up. Biggest and most important thing is that everybody remains suspicious. Suspicious of emails, suspicious of phone calls, and suspicious of text messages. If you don't know where it's coming from or you're not sure where it came from, don't necessarily act on it. There's a lot of, they use the term phishing, and phishing is, the idea that they send something out and they see if you bite. It could be a text message that says, "Hey, I really miss you." And you're like, "Who is this?" And then tries to get you, to show them you're a real person. So, one of the things that I've seen with clients recently that I wanted to bring up is one of the things you need to be suspicious of is pop-ups on your computer. A pop-up on your computer might mean a bad thing, but some of them are just pop-ups that are advertisements that lead you to something bad. And one of the things I want people to know is that McAfee and Norton are two of the most popular antivirus software companies out there. And the fraudsters know that. So what they do is they'll design a McAfee logo pop-up that says your computer's infected, click here. And it looks like McAfee, and you're thinking, I have McAfee. Well, they might have had a 50-50 shot at guessing which one of those two you had. So be especially um, concerned of pop-ups, especially if you hadn't seen one recently. Another thing to keep an eye on is sharing any sensitive information, especially online. There are so many social media things out there about what year you were born or people wishing you a happy birthday. Well, if you start sharing stuff about being born in 1972, or what kids in 1972 remember or something like that, and then you have all these happy birthdays on your date of your birthday, well, now your birth date is easily able to be figured out. And other things like your mother's maiden name, or other contact info, you just want to be really cautious about what you put out there on social media.
Well, look, fraud, according to the statistics, it's hard to even grasp this concept, but they say that fraud is an industry that could be $1 trillion.
Right. Well, and AI
Trillion,
makes it easier because they can use the AI to perpetrate the frauds.
$1 trillion a year, Mike. That's a ton of money, and the more money they make, the more they want to go after it and take it from you. And so I consider it the number one risk of your retirement or your financial well-being is fraud. And that's why when your phone rings, if it's not in your contacts, don't answer it. Let it go to voicemail. And then when you listen to that voicemail, if it's coming across threatening or trying to make you fearful or you're going to jail or we're coming after you, just delete it. Just delete it. Don't worry about it because 99% of the legal authorities, Mike, don't do that. Not even the IRS. People think the
Right.
IRS doesn't do that. They communicate through the mail. And if you've had numerous conversations with the IRS, then maybe a guy will show up at your house if you're a really bad actor, but they don't call people and threaten them. Social Security doesn't do that either. So let phone calls go to your voicemail if you don't recognize it. And like you say, you get an email, don't do anything with it if you don't know exactly who it's from. And
And
even if
maybe
you think you know who it's from, Mike, you
Yeah.
should still call them up and say, why did you send this? I didn't expect this. Was this from you?
But on the flip side of that, you do want to make sure you're keeping up with your email and you're keeping up with your US mail to see if you do get real notifications. But what you do when you get that notification is you go directly to your known way of getting to that. You go to schwab.com, you go to financialconsulate.com, you call our office, you call the Schwab office, whoever it may be. You don't use the contact information that's within it, but you do want to keep an eye out for all those types of notifications. The other thing, a lot of people have two-factor authentication. Some of it's through app-based stuff, and it'll just be a pop-up. Do you approve this login? Don't hit the approve if you're not the one logging in. I know I've had at least one client say, hey, are you doing something in my account? I got a request to approve login. I'm like, no, that's not me. Don't do that. So that's all things to
Well,
keep. Mhm.
we just, we need to make sure that our clients, we have a lot of clients call us and call me, let's put it that way, and say, hey, I got this email. Well, it didn't even have to do with us or Schwab. It just, hey, I got this email. Do you think this is legitimate? Should I respond? I've gotten that. And then I work with the client to figure out, do we think it's legitimate? And we go through a whole process. And vulnerable family members, you might be young and right now, but you might have parents. I still remember the time when my mother got a call and the person said I'm in jail, and she says to him, "Chris, is that you?" And so now the fraudster has the name of one of her grandchildren, and he says, "Yeah, it's Chris." So now she thinks it's Chris, and he says to her, "You got to send me money. I got to get out of jail." And she says to him, "Well, I got to call Uncle Drew because he controls all my money." And there's something beautiful to controlling your elderly parents' money that they can say to these fraudsters, I gotta call Drew, I gotta call Joe, I gotta call Mike because he controls all my money. And instead of taking the chance that they would respond to this person and send money out to
Yeah.
him.
Well, that's the biggest key is make sure that you yourself or you're always communicating with vulnerable family members that they know to, hey, get second opinions. Drew, even you and I together, we have each gotten things before that we've gone to each other, been like, hey, this looks like a vendor we use. I just got this, and we check with each other sometimes. So it's not just older family members. It's good
Yeah,
for everyone. And then
we
the
get
last
that.
thing on this fraud that I wanted to cover, because it's, when we talk about AI and how it's changing everything, this is one of the negatives of AI is these deep fake videos. And this is, not brand new. It's been around now for a couple years. We had a, a principal have a gym teacher make a deep fake of a phone call in the principal's voice to try to get him fired. And the thing to look out for online is to always just say, even if I see a video or a picture of something, I can't always immediately believe it. I have to consider the source, and be especially suspicious of videos that contain something that's shocking or controversial claims. Um, uh, look at the source, and then always verify before taking an action. In the event that, for like us, we even have people that try to make it seem like an email from me to Drew or Drew to me to request something to do in the business. And if we're not, 100% sure that that would be a normal request, uh, call via another known method of communication and check.
Yeah, definitely phone calls is a good way or in person, whatever. Do something like that. Do not just keep sending emails to see or respond to something that you got. That's the last thing you want to do. Or call a phone number that pops up on your screen.
Right.
Anyway, scams, very, very, very dangerous, could damage your financial well-being for good. So be very careful and call us if you need help, no matter what it might be. Doesn't have to be involving us. It just get another second opinion to help you work through that. Anyway, Mike, I think we're well beyond our time here. This is Drew Tignanelli saying God bless.